Um, Welcome, whomever shows up. I'm gonna download this video later. Some things I wanted to talk about in regard to the Delphi homicides and Richard Allen. Um, Supposedly he's in the White County Jail now. Don't know, or else he's in state custody in um, ADSEG, which probably for his own safety and the safety of everybody involved. The first thing I want to discuss in regard to Richard Allen is the hat he wears. Now, there's a photo. Hello, Cryptex. There's a photo uh, with him wearing a Route 66 hat. It looks like it's got a badge on the top. So recently it's come out that he's being investigated for the Evansdale murders of uh, Elizabeth Collins and Lyra Cook. Hi, Candy Cane. Thank you. So in looking at the hat that he was wearing in some of the photos, it looks like a badge. And I just want to make the note or the comment that if he's got this hat on and he's going out grabbing little kids, and it looks like there's a badge on top of it, and he's a child predator, it's going to make kids trust him and think that, he's safe to go with or whatever. It's attacked a lot of child predators use a ruse, and I believe he at one point in time used a badge. So yeah, I just wanted to make that little note that he had this hat, even though an adult would look at it and say, "Oh, it's a Route 66 hat." It looked, to a child, it would look like a badge or someone in a position of authority. The second thing I wanted to talk about, and this is really important. So, for a long time, Belinda and I have discussed that we believe this may have been a snuff film, child pornography, CSAM. Anyway, I'll get right back to that question in just a minute, Candy. So we talked about him possibly making a snuff film, sharing C-SPAM, child pornography. We know Kagan Klein was charged with it, and they've rescinded and reduced a lot of his charges. Now, it's interesting to me that the family had come out in public, and we're going to talk about Richard Allen's personality for a minute. So they say that a family member went to CVS and had photos processed, and then Richard Allen was the one who processed those photos, and he told the family, when they come to pick him up, no charge. In looking at what child predators do, I've said this many times, they spend 95% of their waking hour looking up child pornography, fantasizing in that whole fantasy realm. And so in discussing Richard Allen, I wonder, was he processing some of this stuff while he was working at CBS? Is that perhaps one of the ways that they caught him? Was he processing child porn? Was he processing videos? He had access to all this, equipment, and perhaps nobody was looking. So that's just a thought that perhaps he was processing some of this stuff through CVS. He wouldn't have to do it at home if they're trafficking this stuff, this CSAM, child pornography, snuff film, whatever. Him having access to equipment that would allow him to do that, he wouldn't have to do it at home. And it's just a thought, doesn't mean it happened. The other thing I want to say is, Richard Allen is still innocent until proven guilty in a court of law, even though he's been charged with 2 counts of murder, and Doug Carter came out and said he's bridge guy. I want to get back to your question, Candy, and you look down at the chat. Why isn't the chat coming up? What's going on? You sent me a message. Okay, Thank you, Candy, for saying you appreciate all that we've done. Says, like you said before, he had access to the trail right across from his job. Yeah, so there's different access points to the trail. There's different parks up there. But again, getting back to Richard Allen's character, if he is a child predator, and I'm saying if because he's innocent until proven guilty, I believe, like Doug Carter, he's Bridge Guy. They've identified him as Bridge Guy. But as soon as he walks out of his work, there's a trailhead right there. And it sits right behind the BP on Main Street. So if you Google map where CVS is on Main Street, directly across the street, there's a set of railroad tracks. And those railroad tracks go over Deer Creek. It's just a different part of it, where the Monon High Bridge is about 2 miles on the other side. So that's another thing, he's the mind of a child predator. Again, they're reliving that fantasy over and over and over and over in their minds. And so, this was I wouldn't put anything past him. I'll just say that. But he walks outside and he sees that trailhead, so he's able to relive that memory every day, if in fact he was involved. Same thing with, if he's looking at child porn, if he's processing child porn, why wouldn't he, he did this with the family photos. Why wouldn't he go to CVS and, get what he can get there? Not only that, if he's processing photos at CVS, he's going through everybody's photos, anything he sees, anything he can snatch, make a copy of, whatever. It's really sick and disgusting what these people do. So there's a topic I wanted to touch on. I don't quite know how to hit this topic, but back when one of the officers were talking about signatures, and I'm not going to say who it was, but it was on tape, and probably the whole world saw it. He was talking about the Delphi killer signatures. They had mentioned that this is non-secular, religious in nature. And, I had talked before about Kagan Klein being a so-called ordained minister. Now, when you think about that for a second, what does that mean? Non-secular simply means religious. Well, there are all kinds of different religions. But psychically in my mind, not too long ago, I got an image of a black wolf and of a pentagram. And so I'm wondering if this doesn't have something to do with satanic ritual of some sort. Now, people had brought up Lupercalia before, and the festival of Lupercalia goes between the 13th and the 15th. It's a ritual from thousands of years ago where two Luperci priests would go out and they would slaughter goats or dogs, and then they'd take the knife and smear the blood all over them. And then they would go and beat up certain women and have sex with them. And it's supposed to increase their sexuality. Really disgusting. But anyway, in today's ritual, some people claim that it demands human sacrifice. So now, in looking up the Lupercalia Festival, being that the girls died on the 13th, went missing on February 13th, that's the beginning of Lupercalia. And now I went back and I looked at the palindrome, I think it was 7/13/2012, when Elizabeth and Lyric went missing, and ironically, that's also on a satanic feast day, St. Marina Day or St. Margaret of somebody anyway, and that one also can, it can also require a human sacrifice. 95% of the people that join the Satanic Temple don't even believe in Satan. They believe in atheism. Most of them are atheists. They don't care. A lot of people do it just to get attention. A lot of people want to feel heard. This in particular, however, these sets of crimes, Doug Carter said it's about power and control for the person. Now, if you're looking at Richard Allen, what do you see? They said he's only 5'0", maybe 5'4", 5'5". He's basically an insignificant person in life. And does he have Caesar syndrome? Probably. Pretty small for a guy. His wife seemed to talk over him quite a bit. Um, yeah, that's just conjecture just from watching the videos. I don't know if that's how their marriage went, but if I had to guess how their marriage went, he was aloof and narcissistic and, punished her occasionally by silence or tormenting her emotions or whatever. Anyway, conjecture again. But common sense tells me he's got this hat with the badge, that looks like a badge. It isn't a badge, it's a Route 66 hat. And then the CVS photos, and then perhaps that it's a ritualistic type of thing. Now, something else I got psychically specifically for Richard Allen. This is psychic now, psychic in nature, just so you know. But I got those wooden garden barrels that have the wood slats that go around the outside, almost like a half barrel, and they're filled with dirt. I got there's evidence. There's two large planter pots that are like that, and there's some evidence in those planter pots for whatever reason. I also did another sketch a long time ago of somebody who I think worked with him. Now, in talking about that, I would like to discuss for a minute Ron Logan. For a long time, I said I don't believe he's a bridge guy. And I also said I don't know whether or not he's involved with these crimes. I don't see him being bridge guy because he's 77 years old. He's not going to hop across those tracks like that. That doesn't mean he wasn't involved in this. And the FBI went after him pretty hard. And in listening to his ex-girlfriend, people don't normally have locked rooms in their home with a padlock unless there's a reason, unless there's something in there they absolutely don't want you to see. Now, supposedly he had one in his house and in his barn, and there were certain areas that, people were not allowed to go. He went so far as going after this woman with a wrench and hit her in the head with it, according to her. That's an eyewitness statement and occurrence. That's Did he do something? Was he involved? It wouldn't surprise me. Also, if you look at the people that we had discussed in the past, you look at Chadwell, you look at JP, you look at, all the other people that were in that area around Peru. Was this satanic cult? Was this snuff film trafficking, something of that nature? I don't have the crime scene. I can't answer that. But that's what my feeling is on it. That, they wanted to make films, sell films, make money, chomo sharing. And in saying that, sorry, my nose is itching. I have sinus infection and a cold. Yeah, there's a lot of dark energy in that area for sure. I mean, within a 4-block area, how many chomos? And then, of course, you have Mark Redwine in town, and he's got some serious paraphilias. So the guy across the street from the Klein's house was arrested. The guy down the street was arrested. I mean, how many child molesters can you have in a, 4-block area? Anyway, in saying that, was this something that they were doing? Were they trafficking child porn and snuff films? Now, being that a lot of them know each other, perhaps, that's how they were connected. But I want to say this, if that's the case, we don't know yet, but if that's the case and that comes out on November 22nd, I would really hate to think that all these people who have these channels are making money off of this. Haven't these girls been exploited enough? I know a lot of people come on to my channel with Belinda and I. I know a lot of people come onto our channel and they take information that we put out, and we kind of put the common sense behind the whole thing. And they take information, they run with it, and they want to get that cling, get that money. That's absolutely disgusting. That is exploiting these girls who were murdered. Belinda and I are not here to do this. So what we're here to do is discuss a child murder case and how to protect your kids and how to keep them safe and make the public aware of what in the hell's going on with these guys. Okay? At 13 and 14, you wouldn't think that you have to watch your kids, and it should be safe for them to go out to a trail in the middle of the day. Unfortunately, with Abby and Libby's case, these are the times we live in. And you got to watch your kids. It's sad. It's tragic. I know a 15-year-old girl, Sierra Lamar, out of Morgan Hill, California, and she went out to get on the school bus, and she disappeared. There's lots of kids that go missing, and unfortunately, with these predators, you can't trust any of them. You can't. It's very, very difficult to not be a helicopter mom or a helicopter grandma. But the biggest way that they go after kids now is through social media. And, Belinda and I really want to make people aware, you got to watch what your kids do. You really have to watch them because they're not safe. I still, my grandchildren are teenagers. I still watch them get on the bus. I know that sounds crazy. But, yeah. And the other thing is, if you can get involved with your local search and rescue recovery, that would be awesome. If you can't, and you have property, go out and search your properties. You never know what you'll find. There's a lot of people that go missing all the time. So as far as Richard Allen goes, there's nothing in his personal history, to my knowledge, that would point to him, to any kind of public knowledge that would point to him as being a child predator, other than the fact that he's been arrested for these 2 murders. But I just wanted to point out the hat with the logo and, it looks like a badge, and, the non-secular thing, and, him looking at that trailhead every day. I think those are very important facts when you're looking at his character. Yeah, where is this guy coming from? And what does a child predator do? They go to places where they're going to have access. So it makes sense to me that if this is Bridge Guy, there's his fantasy right there walking out the front door of work. Is he in there processing, child porn? It remains to be seen. Anyway, that's all I have for now. Is there any questions while anybody's on there? You want to ask anything psychically, whatever? When I get access, I'm not at home right now, but when I get access to the other sketch, I'll eventually put it up and we'll talk about that. Let's see if they can get this other guy. Since there's no further questions, I guess I'm gonna go get some dinner. Good luck to y'all, and God bless, and we'll see you next time. Take care.